Welcome to the Lead Well podcast. Around here, we believe leadership shouldn't cost you your peace, your well-being, or the parts of yourself you've worked so hard to reclaim. I'm your host, Trasetta Washington, leadership wellness coach and strategist, and my mission is to give you practical, actionable steps to reduce overwhelm, lead more effectively, and build a sustainable rhythm for both your team and your life. Let's dive into today's conversation. Welcome back, everyone. For those of you who have been with me from the very beginning, welcome back. If you are new, welcome. I appreciate you popping in and finding our show for the first time. I have to admit that I took not a brief pause, but a long pause. But I'm excited to be back relaunching the podcast. I needed to take some time to get some clarity around my business, and I had a lot of personal things going on as a caregiver. Taking care of my father, who has dementia, really took on a life of its own. And we'll get into more about that later on as we continue with the show. But at any rate, I am relaunching the podcast, and I'm being very intentional about it. Matter of fact, for those of you who have been here for a while or from the very beginning, you probably noticed that I introduced the podcast differently. Yes, I changed the name. We are now the Lead Well podcast. The work that I have been doing has evolved, and so have I. And as a result, the old name, the Profitable Productivity Podcast, served the season of life that I was in, but this one fits who I am now, right? Because Lead Well reflects both leadership in life. It reflects both leadership and life, not just productivity. And so what do I mean when I say lead well and be well? Well, I feel like, or I believe that leadership shouldn't require self-sacrifice to the point of being completely depleted. Being effective and being well are not opposites. Oftentimes we feel like, especially in nonprofit leadership, like we have to be self-sacrificing in order for us to do the job that we are hired to do the thing that we're most passionate about. The nonprofit world is riddled with the mindset of sacrifice and scarcity. And so I believe that how you lead is directly tied to how you are resourced. And like I was saying, there is this scarcity mindset in the nonprofit space. And I think what we really need to focus on is how do we leverage what we have in a way that gets the most out of it, at the same time does not sacrifice the well-being of ourselves as well as those who are in our charge, those who we lead. And the reason why leadership wellness matters right now in 2026, leaders are tired, right? They're not uncommitted, right? We know that. They're just overloaded. And that pressure hasn't gone away. All it did was kind of change form. And what happens is when we as leaders, when we're depleted, our team feels that. I say this all the time, that our team is a mirror. And so they pick up on all the things, all the ways that we show up and mirror that same behavior. And so it's no wonder that our teams are burning out, because we as leaders have allowed ourselves to be depleted. Some of the things that I see leaders struggling with are, one, carrying too much responsibility all on their own. There's a lack of delegation. And even when leaders do delegate, they're not necessarily effective with it. And so it just ends up frustrating them. And they're like, well, I'm going to stop delegating altogether because it just costs me so much time, effort, and energy to try and actually pass things along to my team. There's also this constant sense of urgency, which creates an environment that doesn't allow leaders the space to be able to think. And in order to be able to effectively lead your organization, lead your team, lead your department, lead your mission, you've got to have time to be able to strategize. Strategy begins with thinking. And when you are constantly putting out fires, when you're constantly down in the trenches doing the day-to-day work, you don't have time and you don't have the space to be able to think strategically about the work that you're doing. And the last, by no means is this an exhaustive list, but the last one that I want to highlight is that I see leaders supporting everyone else at their own expense. They're neglecting themselves. They're neglecting their self-care. And even when they do take time away, there's guilt there, or they're just so depleted that they can't even enjoy the time away. So for the next 30 days, I have set an intention to slow the noise and bring clarity back to leadership. My intention is to show up consistently, honestly, and without overproducing. I want to create a space for leaders to reflect. I'm not trying to add more pressure to you. I'm not trying to add more pressure to myself. That's why I'm not going to be overproducing this podcast. There's this saying in the productivity space, and I've said it myself, and I have to remind myself of this all the time. Done is better than perfect. What's most important is that I allow the space for the conversations that we need to have as leaders in order for us to lead well and be well. And so I'm leaning back into podcasting. Podcasting is going to be my anchor in 2026. The reason why I decided to lean back into podcasting, one, I enjoy it. I missed it. I had a podcast. I don't remember if I've talked about it on this show or not, but I had a podcast years ago before COVID hit, and probably fairly early on, maybe like May of 2020, I took a break and just kind of never got back to the show. And I just miss podcasting. It allows me to go into greater depth and get into some of the nuances of leadership that short form content just really doesn't allow for. It also gives me the space to be able to meet you, leaders, where you are, whether it's on a walk, in the car, in a quiet moment that you're having. I can serve you no matter where you are. And this feels like the most aligned way for me to do that right now. So the mission of the show is to provide clarity for when leadership really feels heavy, to help create an alignment between who you are and how you lead. And not only that, I believe that sustainable leadership supports both people and performance. So here's what to expect from our episodes. I really want them to be short and thoughtful reflections that you can actually digest. I don't want these to be super long think pieces, right? You're already busy. You already have enough on your plate. I don't want to take up a ton of your time. I also want these episodes to be real leadership moments from the field, right? So as I'm traveling around, working with teams, training leaders, I want to bring back to you a lot of the conversations that we're having around leadership, because if it's showing up in the rooms that I'm teaching in and training in, chances are it's showing up in your world as well. I also want to be able to provide practical insight without overwhelming you, thus these really short, digestible episodes. Through the podcast, I want to support you as leaders and your teams by reinforcing coaching and organizational work. I want to give you language that you can use with your teams. And I want to normalize leading with humanity and intention, right? So over the next 30 days, I'm going to be sharing with you conversations about energy, boundaries, decision making. I'll share with you insights on how you can prevent burnout, both as a leader and with your team, how you can increase your team health, as well as provide you with some really simple reframes that are going to create immediate relief for you. And so I want to invite you to walk with me through this season. Listen for what resonates with you and what needs to shift. And remember, you don't have to lead alone. You can get support, you can get community, you can have a place to grow as a leader without burning out inside of the Lead Well Academy. It's completely free. It's where I share resources, mini trainings, leadership prompts, and behind the scenes support that can help you lead from a grounded and healthy place. You can learn how to join, or you can join using the link that's inside of the show notes. And with that, I want to remind you to lead well and live well. Until next time.